All right, we're going to be working on number 2 quadratic notes, graphing quadratics. So if you remember from the last one, we're going to review this, how you find your A, your B, and your C really quick. So remember, our A always comes with what's in front of our x squared. If it's a negative, it's really going to be a -1. Our B comes with what's in front of our x. So right now I have a 6, so I'm going to use just the number 6. And our C is our constant, so it doesn't have a number, or it doesn't have a letter with it, so my C is just going to be a 4. Okay, we're going to look at that A value and see if it opens up or down, and that's based on if it's positive or negative. If it's positive, it opens up. If it's negative, it opens down. So this one's going to be opens down because it's negative. So when you make it, it's going to look like that. Okay, remember your y-intercept is always what your C value is. So my y-intercept is going to be a 4. And then your axis of symmetry is the formula, opposite B divided by 2 times A. So I'm going to say x equals, right now my B is a 6, so I'm going to do a -6. I'm going to say 2 times what my A value is, which is a -1. So I have a -6 and a -2, and that's going to give me a +3. So my axis of symmetry is this x, and it is that 3. So I'm going to use that 3 right here. But remember, it's also your first number of your vertex. So because this is an x and I got x equal 3, I'm going to put a 3 there. Okay. The last thing you want to do is find your y, which you use this formula right here, and we're going to put our x's in the 2 spots we put our x's. So I'm going to put 1 right here. Oopsies, that's not a highlighter. I'm going to put 1 right here and 1 right here. So I'm just going to put 3 in both those spots. The rest of it stays the same. So I'm going to say y equals negative is out front. My x is a 3 squared plus 6. My x is a 3 plus 4. If I put all of that in my calculator, I'm going to get, oh, hold on, I did not put all of that in my calculator. So let me put it in my calculator really quick. So I'm going to take it and say negative parenthesis 3 close squared plus 6 parenthesis 3 close plus 4. I'm getting 13. And that's going to be my y value. So that 13 is going to be, it's going to be this y right here, and that's what you found from this right here. The answer goes right there. Okay? When we graph, the first thing you're going to do is find the vertex. Then you're going to make a table graph. The vertex goes in the middle of the boxes, and this will make more sense in a minute, but just take these notes for right now. So it's going to go in the middle of the boxes. You're going to find 2 x values above and 2 x values below the vertex. Then you're going to plot your points and function. Oops, sorry. I missed one. Plug in the x values to your function to find your y values. Plot your points and function and identify if there is a maximum or a minimum. Don't forget, the graph will go up when A is greater than 0. And open down when A is less than 0. Okay, so let's try some of these. Okay, your packet's a little bit bigger just because we have graphs on them, but don't let the graphs scare you. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is find your axis of symmetry. Okay, so remember we find our axis of symmetry with our x equals opposite b divided by 2 times a. So I'm looking at this one, I'm going to say x equals, well remember your b value is this middle one right there. It's a positive 6, so I'm going to use a negative 6 divided by 2 is always there, times my a value, which is this, which is a negative 3. So when I'm looking at this one, I have a negative 6 on top, and it looks like a negative 6 on the bottom. So my x is going to equal 1. Negative 6 divided by negative 6 is 1. Okay, you're going to put that 1 in the middle of your graph. So I'm going to come and I'm going to put it right in this spot right here. So I'm going to put my 1 right there. Now that I have that, I'm going to go back to, well, hold up a second. Now that I have that, I'm going to do the 2 numbers above and the 2 numbers below 1. So if I count from 1, then I'm going to go a 2 and a 3. But if I come backwards, it's going to be a 0 and a negative 1. So I did my 2 numbers above and I did my 2 numbers below. The next thing you're going to do is try to find your y values. So your y values, you're using this, oh, wrong color, this right here. Okay, so we're just going to replace that. But when we get to our x, instead of writing x, geez, those are so big. Instead of writing this at, oh geez, you guys, I'm a mess. Okay, I'm gonna try this one more time. I'm gonna get it. There you go. I'm going to put my x value right here and right here. So the first thing we're going to say is y equals, it's going to be a negative 3. I want my x. So the first x I'm going to use is this one right here. So I'm going to put a negative 1 in there. So negative 1, close it. Then it says squared plus 6. I'm going to use that same negative 1 again and then plus 4. Okay, if I put all of that in my calculator, I'm going to get y equals negative 5. So I'm going to put this negative 5 right here. Okay, then inside my calculator, I'm going to replace that negative 1 that's right here and right here. Oops, I erased a little bit too much. I'm going to put this next x that I have, which is this 0. So now I'm going to replace those numbers with 0. You can retype it all in, or you can use your delete button on your calculator. And if I were you, I would just use the delete button and delete those ones and then get the answer. So if I did that, I'm going to get y equals 4. So now that 4 goes right here. Well, the next one I want to replace it with is the red one, the number 1. So I'm going to replace this and this with a number 1. So now I'm going to put a 1 here and a 1 here. If I put that all in my calculator, I'm going to get a 7. So I get y equals 7. And then if I replace that with the next one, so I'm going to replace this and this, and I'm going to replace it with the 2, and I'm getting that 2 from right here. Okay, so now I replace it with a 2. When I put those 2's in and hit equals, I get a 4. So I'm going to put a 4 here. And then finally, I'm going to replace, oops, I should probably write y equals 4. And then finally, I'm going to replace my last one, and it's going to be replaced with this 3 right here. So the 2, I replace this. Why did that get so big? Replace this 2. Why is that not erasing? There we go. This 2 with the 3. So I'm going to put a 3 right here and a 3 right here, and I get y equals negative 5. So I'm going to put a negative 5 right here. Okay? So notice that all the time your parabola, and this one is going to open down. So this parabola is going to open like this. But notice that it's symmetrical. So right in the middle is where that middle piece kind of goes down. So whatever's on the left side is going to be the same on the right side. So if you look, Notice that your first and your last ones are both -5. It doesn't matter what your x is, but your y is a -5. And that happens with those ones as well. Those two will always match. They're just going to be that kind of rainbow because of a parabola, how it's meant to be. They're going to be the same. So really, you only have to put these first 3 in your calculator. Once you have that, you can fill those last 2 in. Okay, but now we want to graph it. So on my graph, I'm going to say -1, -5. So -1 and -5 is right about there. Okay, my next one is going to be 0 and a +4. So I'm going to go 0 to a +4, make my dot, and then 1 and 7. So I'm going to go over to 1 and up to 7. And then 2 and 4, I'm going to go over to 2, up to 4. And the last one is 3, -5. So I'm going to go over 3, down to -5. So then this is going to be your parabola right there. And it was a negative number, so it opened at the bottom down. My A was a negative number, so it opened down. So I know I did that correctly. Okay, let's try number 3. The first thing we're going to do is our x equals. I want opposite B divided by 2 times A. So I'm going to say x equals. Remember, your A comes in front of right here. My B is whatever is right here, and this is my C value, which you don't even need for this formula. So opposite B, right now it's a +2, so it's going to be a -2. This 2 is part of my formula, and my A is a 1. So -2 stays on top. 2 times 1 is 2. If I take -2 divided by 2, I'm getting -1. So I'm going to come down, and remember that's going to go in your middle spot right here. Okay, so we're going to put that -1 right there. And now I want the numbers that are above -1 and the numbers that are below. So -1 and then 0, 1. And then -2, -3. And you can flip-flop those two. If you wanted your 0 and your 1 up higher and your -2 and your -3 down further, that would be fine too. Either one of those would work. It doesn't matter because it's going to make that same shape no matter what. Okay? Now we're going to go and use this and put in our numbers. I'm going to start at the very top with that -3 for my x. And I'm just going to fill in this x and this x with that -3. So I'm going to say y equals, it's just an x right now, so I'm just going to put that -3 where that x is, squared plus 2, -3 plus 1. If I put all of that in my calculator, I'm going to end up on the other side with a 4. Now I want to change that -3 in both those spots. I'm going to change that to a -2. So I want a -2 and a -2. I'm going to hit equals, and I get a +1. And now I want to change those. So I'm going to use that delete on my calculator. I'm going to change this, and I'm going to change this to a -1. And if I change those to a -1, I'm getting a 0. Now, if we use that kind of rainbow effect, remember these two match. So if that top one was a -4, this bottom one is going to be a -4. And if you remember that these two match, so if it was a 1 up there, now it's going to be a 1 right here. So now we can just go ahead and graph. Okay, so remember you go left and right first, then up and down. So I'm going to go left -3 up to 4. So I'm going to go left -3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Put my first dot. Now I want -2, 1. So left to -2, up 1. Now I want -1, 0. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm going over to -1, but I'm not going up or down. Now I want over to 0, up to 1. And over 1, up 4. Okay, so here is this parabola that looks like that. And then I'm going to check, is my A value positive? Yes, and it opens up. So this is going to be a, when we're talking about our maximum or minimum, if it opens up, well, let's do that a little bit differently. When this points down, when your vertex points down, that's going to be a minimum. So this one's going to be a minimum. And we missed that on this other one. This one, my vertex at the top was pointing up high. So that's going to be my maximum. When your vertex points high, it's a maximum. If your vertex points low, it's a minimum. Okay, 2 more. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is find my A and my B because those are what I need. So here's my A, what's in front. It's no number, so it's going to be a 1. And here's my B. Take all of it. Don't just take that 2. Make sure you take that negative in front. Okay, so now I'm going to say X equals, I want the opposite of my B, so it's a -2. So now I want to use a +2. And that 2 on the bottom is the formula times 1. So now I have 2 divided by 2 equals 1. So remember, that's going to go in the middle right here. So this 1 goes right here, and then I want my 2 numbers above and my 2 numbers below. So 1, 2, 3, 0, -1. Now I'm going to take this right here, and I'm going to fill in my x's. So I want to fill in my x right here, and right here. And I would take my top 3 or my bottom 3. It wouldn't really matter. You do have to have that middle one, but you can take your top or your bottom from there on out. I tend to just go right from top all the way down, and that's fine. So I'm going to say y equals, it doesn't start with a number, so I don't need that, but I do need my parentheses. My x was a -1 squared minus 2, -1 minus 8. Okay, if I put all of those in my calculator and hit equals, I get a, I think I might have, do I have something different on mine? Nope, I'm good. I'm getting a -5. I was looking on the wrong page. Okay, now I'm going to change this -1, go a little bit bigger than that one. So I'm going to use my calculator and just erase that, and I'm going to change it to a 0. So if I put a 0 in here and a 0 in here, I get a -8. Now I'm going to change that 0 I'm not really getting much bigger when I'm trying to erase. There we go. I'm going to change that 0 to a 1. So I'm going to do a 1 and a 1 and hit equals, and I get a -9. Okay, and this is where you get to stop, because remember the rainbow, these two go together. So those are both going to be -5. And these two go together. So that other one's going to be a -8. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and graph. So first I go left and right. So I'm going to go left -1 and then down to -5. So -1, -5 is right here. 0 meaning I'm not going left or right, but I'm going to go down to -8. It's right there. 1, -9, which doesn't land on the graph. So if I go over +1, if the bottom is a -8, I'm just going to make it right below that. That's going to give you that -9. And then 2, -8, which is right here, and 3, -5. Okay, and that's going to make this parabola right there. So I'm looking at this bottom. If it's pointing, oops, wrong one. Looking right here, if it's pointing down, it's going to be a minimum. So this one is a minimum because it's pointing down. Okay, let's look at our last one here. Okay, first thing is we're going to determine our A. Our A is right here because it comes with our X value. And our B, sorry, it comes with our squared value. Our B is going to be that one because it comes with our X value. There is no C on this one, but that's okay. We don't need C for our formula. So we're going to find our axis of symmetry. So I'm going to say X equals, it's going to be it was a -6, so it's a +6 divided by 2 times 1. So I get 6 divided by 2. That's going to give me a 3. Remember, that goes in the middle. Then I want the 2 before that, or sorry, the 2 after that. So I'm going to say 4 and 5, and the 2 before it. So 2, 1. This one's going to be a little bit faster because we don't have as much to type in. So I'm going to say y equals, oops, my pencil quit working here. There it goes. It starts with an x, so I'm just going to put my 1 in. Squared minus 6 times 1. If I do that, I'm getting a -5. Now I'm going to erase my 1 in both spots. I'm going to put a 2 in both spots. So I'm going to say 2, 2. If I do that, I get a -8. And then finally I'm going to erase that. And I get a 3. And a 3. And that's going to give me a -9. Okay, we're going to do the rainbow. So I want those two. So that one's going to be a -5. And I want these two. So this is going to be a -8. Okay, now it's graphing time. I'm going to go over to 1, down to 5. So over 1, down to -5. Now I want over 2, down to -8. And over 3, down to -9. Again, they should have landed on a graph. Sorry about that. Over to 4, down to -8. Oops, sorry, that was not the right one. Erase this guy right there. And then lastly, I'm over to 5, down to -5. Okay, so it made this parabola. When I look at my vertex, it's pointing down, so that's going to be a minimum. Okay, you have everything you need to work on this assignment. So you are doing number 2 quadratics practice, graphing quadratics.